When Blizzard launched Classic WoW in 2019, I pulled up Thoughtbot on my second CRT monitor, logged into my TeamSpeak server, sent the kids off to college, and started killing boars. Back in the day, I had killed Ragnaros and Onyxia, but missed most of the other content. This time around, my friends and I had a great time killing KT. But everyone knows the story. You can't go back. Over 15 years as a financial professional and a gamer, I couldn't help but see these games differently. I became fascinated by the intricate financial systems. Let's look at what Classic and Season of Discovery can teach you about economics in our real world. The first thing to understand is how WoW's economy is different than our own. You can imagine WoW's economy like a bathtub. For a mature server, there is some amount of money in circulation. That's the total amount of water in the tub. There's also a flow of new money into the tub, like a faucet. That comes from completing quests or killing creatures. These things create new currency. The quest giver isn't paying you from his own money. The server is just creating the gold and giving it to you. However, every time you repair, buy from NPC vendors, or pay auction house fees, that gold is deleted from the economy, like a drain from the tub. Gold flows into the economy through the faucet of quests and killing mobs. It eventually drains out of the economy through the sink of repairs and other NPC fees. You can imagine if the faucet is putting money into the tub faster than it can drain, then the total amount of gold available in the world increases, or the water level goes up. This is actually very important for games. It's very difficult to strike a perfect balance of inflow and outflow, so games typically try to ensure the gold supply is higher than the drain. As a side note, this was actually not the case in the first few months of New World's launch. Once the majority of the player population hit level cap, the inflow of currency was outpaced by the drain, and the total money supply started decreasing. This created a deflationary environment, which you could do an entire video on, but to summarize, created an economy where players had to resort to bartering. Gold was so scarce, people used raw wood and iron ore as a currency. But back to WoW. This is not exactly how our real-world economy works. The government can and does create new currency, but there isn't a drain. No one is out there burning money. However, if you consider the supply is substantially larger than the drain, like most MMOs, then you can consider the supply to be just the actual supply minus the drain. In this way, the MMO economy looks a lot more like our real economy. There are a few more important points to understand. The first is that transactions between players do not create or destroy money. When you tip your enchanter, buy a BOE from Trade Chat, or shamelessly pay for a Moradon boost, you may be spending gold, but it's not being deleted from the economy. You just gave it to someone else. It didn't go down the drain. Second, you can imagine the amount of people in the tub also helps determine how scarce currency is. If there are twice as many people in the pool of money, each person is likely to have half as much money. Lastly, currency is not the only source of value or wealth. For example, the US Treasury estimates that there is $2.3 trillion in circulation, but total US wealth is estimated at $150 trillion. This accounts for things like real estate and stock investments. This is the same in WoW. Arcane crystals, Black Lotus, and many consumables have a value. Gold is what we use to measure and conduct their trade, but is only a small percentage of the total wealth of a server. Now let's look at the life cycle of a server. In a fresh launch, there is zero gold in the economy, but quest rewards and mob drops turns the faucet on full blast. However, buying skills, mounts, and repair costs ensures a strong drain from the economy. The tub doesn't have a chance to start filling up until the player base hits max level and all these one-time costs go away. As the water level rises, inflation takes over. With so much more currency in circulation, you demand more compensation for your resources or time. Because of this, the way people farm gold changes. Initially, you may have simply killed mobs that drop currency, but as the pool rises, the gold you receive becomes less and less valuable. In the final stages of inflation, the economy shifts to a mostly service-based economy. Summons for world buffs, mage boosting, resource gathering, GDKP runs, and enchanting take over as the most viable way to produce gold. It's simply more profitable to charge players than try to generate new gold into the economy. You start to feel poor in-game, it's probably because you haven't adapted to this shift in the server's economy. This is relatable to the real world. Manual labor has an intrinsic value. Humans are relatively adaptable and in rudimentary economies can produce all sorts of value from their environment. But as more and more infrastructure is created, the value of a set of hands diminishes. It takes an increasingly sophisticated worker to generate value. The gap between unskilled and skilled worker widens. To understand the very interesting end stages of a server, we need to understand the velocity of money, or how fast money exchanges hands. In World of Warcraft, think of it like this. You make your money by selling summons on your warlock. Every week, people need their Songflower or tribute buff and are willing to pay for it. However, on Darkmoon Fair weeks, they also need that, but the number of warlocks hasn't changed. People require more summons, so each summoner could expect to make more gold per day. The warlocks, with their newfound wealth, are more likely to splurge on a new BOE or expensive enchant. The dungeon farmers sell more BOEs and may spend their profits on boosts for their alts. In Darkmoon Fair Week, money changes hands more quickly. The total amount of money hasn't changed, but people are spending it faster. The velocity of money has increased. On vibrant, abundant servers, you can feel this. Things sell on the auction house well, people are getting ready for the new raid, and new drops need enchantments. In the real world, this is equally important. The more secure people are in their own ability to make money, the more likely they are to spend it. Late in a server's life, or even just late in a particular phase, have you noticed the economy of WoW sputter out? Prices do strange things. Certain things skyrocket, others plummet, once reliable sources of income run dry. This is the MMO equivalent of a recession. As players lose interest in the game or end up raid logging, waiting for new content, demand and supply can get way out of whack. The velocity of money slows way down. Certain industries, like mining or boosting, might shrivel up. What time players spend in the game may come at a premium, charging outrageous amounts for previously cheap services. This is exactly what happens in the real economy. If some force causes a slowing of the velocity of money, people become less confident in their own financial situation. They're less likely to spend money and more likely to save. They effectively log off from their economy, taking all their wealth and money velocity with them, just like someone raid logging until the next content patch. In both cases, nothing changed to the supply of money. It just stopped getting traded. For an MMO, the cure is simple. Release new content. Players come back naturally, the velocity of money increases, and supply and demand sort themselves out. It's not so easy in the real world. Stimulating an economy that's in a recession is very hard. You may have heard that we spent our way out of the 2008 global financial crisis, which is true, at least here in the US. The government effectively printed money or generated debt and then spent it on the population, artificially increasing the velocity of money while simultaneously filling the pool up a bit. We've really just scratched the surface. I could go on for several more videos, and I will, about more economics, small business, investments, and all sorts of things. So stay tuned to the channel if you're interested. You might even enjoy some of my non-WoW content. This video talks about why population collapse in China will have a dramatic impact on the world economy. In WoW speak, that means declining subscription numbers are going to do wonky things to auction house prices. I hope this has been informative. I'll talk to you soon.